No, Marcus.
Are you sure you got
I
it?
think it was sitting there.
He's Chris, is it?
This is an agenda. I grabbed one of those.
Yep, I made one for you.
Um,
Does anybody else need a packet?
I do.
is there a gavel?
Two spots.
Your gavel.
I feel powerless.
That's not good.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Well, wake up.
You're gonna have to use your fist.
Tell me not comfy.
I don't know, but we're starting, we have a quorum. Calling this meeting to order. It's a Thursday, June 16th, 2016, regular meeting of the City of Ojai Arts Commission. And we will start with a roll call, if you would be so kind, please, Ms. Young.
Commissioner Balderman.
Here.
Chair Addison.
Here.
Vice Chair Harmon.
Here.
Commissioner Conrad.
Here.
Commissioner Golden.
Here I am.
And Commissioner Stobo is not present.
Commissioner Stobo is not with us. Okay. Let us go forward with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Golden, would you lead us in that, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, one for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We made it.
Yes, we did.
We'll have a lesson after.
Yes, sorry about that. I was born overseas. That's my only excuse. All right, we're going to move forward with public comment, and we have one speaker who wishes to be with us. Mr. Lewis, if you would let us know what you have on your mind.
Yes,
Former
hello.
Commissioner Lewis.
Greetings, esteemed former colleagues. I'm Mark Lewis, 515 Foothill, and I'm on the board of the Ojai Valley Museum, which is what has brought me here today. We were getting ready to do an exhibit, and we are indeed going to do an exhibit in January of 2017 to celebrate, well, to mark the Mission Revival makeover of this town by our greatest benefactor, Edward Drummond Libby, arguably our greatest benefactor. And that was when they not only put in all that iconic architecture and inspired further buildings along those lines in the years to come, but they changed the name to Ojai. It was all a package deal.
Wow.
Really, this is Ojai's centennial. I mean, the city incorporated in 1921, big deal. It was founded in the 1870s as Nordhoff. Okay, that centennial is long past. This is the year to make a big deal about what this town is, which we all care about so much. So the museum has just looked around, and no one seems to be spearheading this. Everybody seems to think it's a wonderful idea. So we're going to get going with it and hope everybody will fall into line. We're thinking of really a Jubilee year. From Ojai Day 2016 to Ojai Day 2017. And the tentpole thing would be April 8th, where we hope to, we haven't lined this up, mind you, but we hope to invite the whole community to Libby Park to reenact the moment when Libby himself handed the original deed, which we probably can find in some musty desk drawer somewhere, to Tony Thatcher's grandfather, Sherman Day Thatcher. It's all small town close stuff, but I think it's a wonderful opportunity. So we started to get the ball rolling, and we're also talking to other obvious stakeholders, and we've talked to, among others, Veronica Cole at the Visitors Bureau. We made a presentation to City Council. We've talked to the HPC. I'm going to meet with Scott Eicher of the Chamber. We talked to Amber, does such a great job with Ojai Day, and we now want to talk to you because you guys are a particularly appropriate partner for this, just in general, because Libby's idea, he came out of the City Beautiful movement. His idea was that beautiful architecture will create beautiful thoughts and therefore make better people who will build a better community. And arguably, it worked in this town. We plan to make that argument anyway, and I think it's a point worth making. So it's worth celebrating a lot. And we hope to partner with you guys. I know you can't talk about this. It's not an agenda item, and maybe you could ask Amber to put me on the agenda next month, and I'll have more details, and we could talk about, I mean, just a blue sky idea. It'd be nice to unveil a beautiful, perhaps glass-related piece of art on April 8th, Libby being a glass magnate. Strange word, magnate, but there it is. So again, I know it's not an agenda, so I just wanted to give you a heads up and kind of get the, plant some seeds. And we at the museum would love to work with the Arts Commission. We already are, of course, working with the Arts Commission in so many ways, but hey, what's one more thing? And we are, in fact, if you think about it, we are going to launch this Jubilee year on Ojai Day. After the day's ruckus has come to an end, nobody does anything Ojai night. Well, that will be the opening gala, we already planned this, of our city art collection exhibit.
Yes.
So what better way to start our Jubilee year, because art and civic virtue are essentially what Libby was trying to foment with his whole idea. That was what the City Beautiful movement was all about. It all came out really of the 1893 Chicago World's Fair of blessed memory. Whether it worked in Chicago, people can argue about that, but they did build a beautiful white city, as they called it. It was Beaux-Arts, not of course Mission Revival, but Libby was there, and he was introduced to Mission Revival there, the California building, which introduced Mission Revival to the entire country. So anyway, we'll tease those things out in our exhibit, mind you, but in a broad sense, we see an opportunity for this community to celebrate itself and Libby's legacy, which really, and his vision, which still guides us today. I mean, this town is still all about what and if you read his speech, he specifically was saying aesthetic thoughts will create civic virtue and people will do the right thing and make a better community. And we would say it did happen that way, and he was right. So just to bring my talks to a close, we hope to create some really good stuff and get a lot of seeds planted, and we hope to work with you folks. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mark. The fact that there is going to be the exhibit of the City Art Collection to kick it all off, of course, warms the cockles of our heart, because it just feeds directly into what we've been trying to do to establish a really strong liaison between the Art Commission, the City Art Collection, and the museum. So I know that we'll be enthusiastic about that. Could we please have this on the agenda next month, and we'll get a further update. And if you would notify us or me in advance about any action items that you want us to consider at that time, so that we can move forward without any delays.
I will.
Okay. Any questions or comments from members of the commission about this?
I have a quick
Linda?
question. You said deed? What deed? Oh, sorry. You said deed? What deed are you speaking of?
Oh, well, among the things that Libby did, he started in the fall of 1916, which is why we can sort of stretch our centennial year as in a fiscal year kind of way.
Uh-huh.
But he bought and tore down the old hotel, which had been the first building built in Ojai, and he bought up the land that is now Libby Park and what is now the post office. And he fomented the arcade. That was done with the merchants that owned the buildings. But he actually bought up the park and made the post office tower happen and the pergola. And then he handed the deed to the newly formed Ojai Civic Association, which of course is also celebrating its centennial because it was formed to accept the deed essentially for that. And I believe they turned the park over to the city, I think, in the 70s, but they still, I think, own the post office and I suppose get rent from the feds. I don't know. Anyway, that was the deed.
Okay.
And that was the occasion on that first Ojai Day. Here it is.
Okay.
Mr. Thatcher.
Because the Arbolado, he was involved in the Arbolado.
He
too,
was.
So I wasn't sure.
That was
which.
a development. He founded what is now the Ojai Valley Inn and created its clubhouse. He gave the Ojai Valley School the land to put that thing there. He gave the library the land. It's hard to come up with a lot that he didn't have a lot to do with creating or directly created. And certainly that's what created this whole Mission Revival / Spanish Colonial Revival thing that we still feed off of.
Mhm.
So that was all what he did.
Okay, that was my question.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Much to celebrate. And I'm intrigued, too, by the idea of a work of art perhaps unveiled on that same day as the deed transfer and perhaps public art. And we do have some funds in public arts.
A natural thing for the Arts Commission to
It
do.
could well be. So we will discuss that. We can't do it tonight because it's not on the agenda, but I think this is going to give us some rich things to deal with. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mark. We're going to make a slight adjustment in the agenda. Councilmember Lara, who is our liaison this month, has asked if he could speak at the beginning of the meeting because he has something genuinely important to go to, the graduation of a niece. So acceding to that necessity, Councilman Lara, please.
It's going to be hard to come after former Commissioner Lewis. He left in a Jubilee way, so I think he launched the Jubilee tonight of the museum, and it's great to see the collaboration happening between the Arts Commission and the city and the museum. You're absolutely right. And good evening, fellow Commissioner, Chair Addison, Ms. Young. I just thank you for making the adjustments. I do have to apologize, and because I do have to attend the graduation, but I at least wanted to give a report about what's going on for the City Council. We had our meeting last Tuesday. Since some highlights that we touched on that might be of interest for you, for yourselves is, first off, the commission responsibilities, the commissioners and board responsibilities and duties. We lightly touched on what we would like to focus on, but because Councilmember Clapp wasn't present and it was her main energy that got this put on the agenda, we decided to just table it to a future meeting when all of us were there. But I do want to report that I at least brought up the 1 year chair rotation, and for the most part I got generally support saying maybe it'll be a 2 year instead of a 1 year, at least a 2 year, because it gives the chair the ability to really do his job effectively. We also talked about giving the commissioners through the chair a chance to voice your considerations, suggestions, concerns, and there was a council member that thought limiting the commission to 5 might be a better idea, and we did have some of the council members agree to possibly looking into that. But still, that's just an idea that a council member threw out there, but we do want to get your feedback in terms of just a general sense of what you think about your responsibilities and duties might be. Again, this is different council members throwing different ideas. There's nothing been discussed, debated, dialogued. We still need to look into it. Another thing that we lightly touched, because council member Clapp wasn't there, was vacation rental enforcement. We touched on ideas. It's going to be extremely important for us to look at this closely because it's going to be difficult to regulate, but I really feel it's important to prohibit or to abide to our existing zoning laws. So I think we're going to look at it in a creative way, hopefully trying to do what you guys do every meeting at your Arts Commission, try to be a little creative and not be bound within the rules and the regulations of the law. Other than that, we are going to be viewing the Sterling contract soon. We're going to finally be looking into our priorities and goals for the year. We're still looking into our budget, so we did hear from Chair Addison about the budget request. At the end of the whole overall report of the budget, then we'll make our decision whether we'll fund or how much. But we'll look at it very closely, and we'll take your consideration very seriously. But other than that, I don't think I have anything else. But if you have any questions for me.
I have one.
Yes.
First one off, why were they suggesting to go down to 5 commissioners?
The comments, if I recall correctly, just because they were looking at efficiency, trying to look at ways that we could add more. And I mean, Ms. Young was there, but I don't really recall anything other than efficiency, if you don't mind helping me out.
So the suggestion was made that, one, we are having, at a staff level, having a difficult time keeping all of the commissions full. And so by going down to 5, it would just make the recruitment and fulfillment process simpler. And then in addition to that, by having 5, because it's quite a bit of work to do a recruitment for commissioners and schedule interviews, as Commissioner Gold and Addison know, trying to figure out a time that worked for all parties. And then in addition to that, by having 5 rather than 7, there is a concept that it could potentially streamline the process and like allow for kind of a tighter community.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
We could place it on an agenda for discussion so you guys could make a formal
I
recommendation.
think we should wait until actually something emerges from the city
Okay.
council. It was just
All
an
right.
idea that was
Yeah.
floated.
It was
I
an
just
idea,
wanna-
just,
I
yes.
just want to make it known to the public, this is none of us get paid for this. It's all volunteer, and we do volunteer our time. So we have 6 members now, and we're shy 1 person, but I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, we have one person, 1 slot still to fill, and we'll be having that interview soon, I believe. Any other comments? Okay,
Thank you guys for
Councilman
all
Lara,
your
thank you
hard
very
work,
much.
and we do appreciate it when you know you work hard and give your time to the city. Thank you.
it's our pleasure. Give our congratulations to your niece.
Yes.
Okay, let us move on, please, to the approval of the minutes. You've all received the minutes from the last 2 meetings, as I recall. Any comments or questions about the minutes? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, I approve, or call for approving the minutes.
Is there a second
Thank
to
you.
that motion? Second from Commissioner Balderman. Any
and-
further discussion? Yes.
I have been directed to do a roll call vote in future.
Oh.
And I forgot to mention that.
Then
too.
we will do that. Very well. Any further discussion? Very well. All in favor, will you conduct the roll call vote then, please?
Commissioner Balderman. Chair Addison.
Aye.
Vice Chair Harmon.
Aye.
Commissioner Conrad.
Aye.
Commissioner Stobo. Commissioner Golden.
Yes.
Okay, we will move on to the various discussion and action items that we have.
We had 2 minutes to approve.
Yes, and did you just move that we approve one of them? I thought it was both.
Oh, I'm sorry, maybe I didn't hear that part of it. Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
My error.
not at all. Okay, let's move to the Artist Mentor Program, and Commissioner Stobo, any report that you might have on that at this point?
No, we've connected everyone, and I guess the process has begun. So,
Which is to say that 5 pairs are at work?
yes, I hope so.
Yeah, okay.
They should be, yes. We've sent out notifications to both the students and the mentors, and from what I've heard from people, that they've started connecting, and everyone seems really excited.
Good, good.
Have we announced those?
That has been announced. Has there been a newspaper release on that? Who got what?
No, we will do that.
That would be a good thing to do, I think. Celebrate the fact that we're doing this for what, the 4th year, I believe? Yeah.
Because we're shy, can I say, we're shy 1 person on the,
On the PR, on the publicity
chairman,
committee,
so
I
it's kind of-
realize that,
yeah.
so. But
we'll get
as,
together, I guess.
yeah, okay, good. Anything else on the mentor program? Okay, well then in that case, we'll move to the City Gallery Committee, and that again is you, Heather?
So we just installed the Ojai Studio Artists Scholarship Program, or award winners. And it's, how many artists? 12, sorry.
Right.
So 12 scholarship winners, and the show should be up for, again, I should have this on my notes, another month and a half.
Mhm. And one of the pieces, of course, is behind you here, correct?
No, actually, that's not.
Or is that one of the artists?
We actually, we didn't have an overflow. So we actually brought out one of the pieces from the private collection to put up.
Okay, from the city collection.
City collection, sorry.
Maggie Garrett.
Maggie Garrett. Okay, well, the public is encouraged, obviously, to come to the City Hall and view the work of the students who achieved this accolade, not to mention the scholarships, from Ojai Studio Artists. It'll be on display for roughly a month. All right. We do not have a Public Relations Committee chair at present. As soon as we fill the open slot here on the commission, we'll be doing some juggling of committee assignments for the new forthcoming year appropriately enough. Do any commissioners have anything on their plate vis-a-vis public relations here at the end of the fiscal year? Linda?
I'll give a report on the museum transition
Please do.
at that point later in the.
Okay. All right. The Arts Grants Committee, Commissioner Conrad.
Yes, the grant program is gearing up this month. This was the month that we were to revise the forms, and it looks like we're going to pretty much use the old form and do that. I do need to meet with Amber and find out who's going to receive the materials, so I'll come in and talk to you sometime next week and do that. And then they'll be published in the following month. And then we'll start to get things. We'll be doing another workshop in August.
Okay,
And so we're underway.
Did
good.
we give a date for the workshop, Roger?
Do you have a date for that workshop yet?
Let's see.
I don't know if that got set or not. I can check with you.
Yeah, it's not finalized. I have to check with Amber and make sure those dates are
Okay.
done. But
I can check.
right now, we're looking at August 10th.
Okay. All right. We can move on then to the Awards Committee. We have nothing really new to report. We will, of course, again in this coming year be seeking to identify that person that we wish to nominate for the Lifetime Achievement Award. It's also been over a year since we have awarded the Hope Fraser Award. And that award is, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't have the actual wordage in front of me, but it is for someone who's made a significant art and cultural contribution to the community. And I think, given the fact that that's an occasional award and that we haven't awarded it, it would be appropriate for the Awards Committee, rather, to consider that this year. For a possible award sometime in 2017. Any thoughts on that from any commissioners? Okay, then we will go forward to the Public Art Committee. Commissioner Golden.
Okay. Well, I took a little trip over to Topa Mountain Winery, which is open. And the fountain by RTK Tiles is complete, other than the fact that the water hasn't been turned on yet, so it's not running. But you can see the tile work, and if you like, I have pictures on my cell phone that I took of it, and it's really quite lovely. It's really very nice. There's a lot of RTK tile in town, but it doesn't bother me because it's so spectacular. It's just so Ojai. So if you get a chance, for no other reason than to go see the fountain, take a little, drive over there and see what it's all about. I was amazed when I drove my car into the parking lot for the view.
Oh, yeah.
It just happens that because it backs up to the inn's over parking, sometimes garden area, that there are no trees in the way of where you stand in the winery and the Topa Mountains
Yeah.
beyond. And you feel like you're up high.
Yeah.
So, and you're up a little high at that point anyway, because you dip as you come more toward town. So it's worth a little trip over there to see it, and hopefully he'll get the water on soon. The owner was there and gave me a tour. It's really very lovely.
It's worth pointing out, I think, that RTK tile fountain is a consequence of the city ordinance that requires a payment over a certain level of the cost of the project for public art. And in this case, the owner chose to find their own artist and to satisfy that public art requirement, and in that way beautify the property and provide everyone who goes there with
Yes.
a special
exactly.
experience. So that's a consequence of the city's ordinance for public art.
Yes. And today, I noticed at the Ojai Valley, well, it's really not the Ojai Valley Athletic Club, it's the Wild Tennis Academy project, which is well underway, that they were very, very busy working on the concrete walkway where the fortune cookie tiles are being set in. And that's another one for the public to know that is a product of the art ordinance. They were also required to do a piece, and they found an artist to work with and realized that the art is actually part and parcel of the entire project. It's not something separate from it. And so far, the developers we've worked with are just so thrilled with their projects. So that's like really great news.
When's that going to be finished?
I'm not sure exactly, but I think soon, I have a feeling. Now, Jeff Sanders will call me, that's the artist, Jeff Sanders. In fact, Audrey Sanders called today, but when I called back, she didn't pick up. And I don't know if it was about that, but Jeff has emailed me to let me know when things are happening. Like, he let me know when they were putting in the markers that protect those spots where the tiles are then inserted. So I imagine I'll hear from him. If either from Jeff or from Mark Weil, or both. So that's just exciting. Developers Handbook update, we had 3 meetings or two? Two meetings, and they were, from my point of view, just wonderful. It was so great to sit with Amber and Kathleen Wold and be able to say, well, what happens on your end when we do this? And what's going on when that happens? And find out that there was just a lot of coordination that was a conversation away. And so I don't think we have drastic changes to the handbook. We have some things added that make things clear. We're going to have one more meeting, and we think we're done. We went all the way through to the part where the applications are, and now we have to look at the applications and then review what we've done. And then we'll bring it back to you, and we feel it should be formally ratified so that it actually becomes part of the whole process the developers go through there, given this booklet, and they carry it forward. So I'm excited about it. I think it's just the whole process to me is clearer now. So it's just been really great. Thank you, Amber, for that. Report on projects, that's for Amber to do. And then before you start on it, I just wonder if part of our meeting, or a separate one from that, could be to go over this with you, because I think it's, for me to go over this with everybody and make all the notes, I just didn't do it with you.
More efficient that
And
way.
with Kathleen, and maybe together, like we do with the handbook, we can come up with something that'll be a little clearer for me. Possible? Possible, okay, but I'll let Amber review.
Great.
Review it. Okay.
Shall we jump to that then now, please?
So there hasn't been, this report is actually from your last meeting, because there hasn't been any new development, and it's, anyway, except for that I have a report that Kappa is, have you gone out and done the final inspection?
No, because that isn't in place at this point until the handbook is done. Right now, the inspection is supposed to happen.
Okay.
But once it changes, we can do that.
Great.
Yeah.
So we're pretty much in the exact same place that we were last month with regards to new projects. So.
Okay.
But I will add something onto that. I totaled up the Mountain Vista Manor amount that's supposed to be donated to the Public Art Fund, and that's something we're talking about in the handbook too, is that we're actually considering whether or not, in the Public Art Committee, we'll deal with all these things and then bring them back to everybody, whether or not we won't do, what was it called, an in lieu? So that if they want a waiver, they actually have to put the money in, hold it. It has to be there.
Yeah,
Because
in
we're
escrow.
waiting on all
Put
this
it in a
money.
bond.
It has to be in a bond or
like
escrow.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So there's $17,802.50 coming to us from Mountain Vista, $11,445 coming from the Athletic Club project, and $27,850 is overdue now with the Pearl Street, the Whitman Pearl Street project, which totals $57,000. I don't know how to do this, $57,097 dollars and 50 cents, approximately $57,000. And the Public Art Committee is seriously looking at some public art projects that could be possible, and we have a chunk of change to carry forward with some of these, and I think it's going to be exciting over the next several months to come back with you. A lot of work goes on in the background when it's the commission itself that is going to be
Sure.
driving this process, and we want to make sure that we
Let's have that on.
consider everything.
Yeah, let's have that on our agenda for our next meeting, a general discussion of ideas so that the whole commission
That'd be
can
great.
feed to the committee. And I'd certainly like to include in that discussion the possibility of something to coordinate with what Mark just presented
Right.
to us.
Right.
A piece of public art that would be a signature piece for that centenary celebration. So if we can add that to the agenda next
Right, that'd be
time.
fabulous.
Great.
So that's what's going on with public art. We have some money to spend, and it isn't meant, if you read the ordinance and the language of the ordinance, it isn't meant to sit in the public art fund.
No.
Our obligation is that we do something with it that is of the same impact as if the developer had done a piece of public art. So it really, the pressure is on us now to do that. And a side note to that is, we cannot go to 5 people on this committee. We need 7.
Oh,
We
I
need the
couldn't agree
people.
more. I couldn't agree more. I
Yeah,
mean,
it just, we won't happen.
I don't know about the other commissions, but this is a working commission.
Oh,
and, I mean, your committee right now is the one that is under the gun in terms of public art, but the work on the liaison with the museum and the artist mentor program and the book that we're projecting, I mean, these are hands-on projects, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll deal with
Yeah,
the
we'll
city
deal with
council as that
but it
emerges
just is a
in
good
the city
example of
council.
why, and we're organized by committee, and each committee is 3, which isn't a quorum, but that's how we've always worked for years, and I don't know how
Right.
we would do it.
But it's also, it's indicative of how important it is to have a council member attending our meeting
Yeah.
and giving us information about those things that would pertain
Give
to
us a
us.
heads up,
It's just the way the information should be flowing.
Chair Addison?
Yes.
Would you like to have a discussion of that topic at the July Arts Commission meeting on the agenda?
Of the number of commission members, yes, by all means, please, let's add that to our agenda, so we can
Recommend it.
feed things to the council, yes, thank you. Okay, we'll move to the Art Acquisitions Committee, and this is Commissioner Harmon.
Basically, we're done with our acquisitions for this year.
Right.
So now I'm concentrating on the museum transition, is that what we decided to call it?
Yeah.
Amber, transition? Okay, so I'm just going to kind of read, basically, I met with Wendy, the director of the museum, several times, and I started going in and helping so that I understood the situation there. So I've just jotted down a few things, and I spoke with her today, too. So basically, the museum wants to commit to housing the collection. The commission has asked for allowance in budget for the collection transition. And the following need to happen before the transfer. These are some of them have been accomplished and some haven't. One was the space needed to be cleared in the museum's climate-controlled hanging racks so that we could physically move the collection over. That has been done. Second thing was, I feel that really important right now, an agreement needs to be written up between the city and the museum saying that we have agreed to the transfer of the collection to the museum and negotiate the terms.
That's probably something that it would be helpful if you, Amber, would find out what we need to do to make that happen. If you could connect with the city attorney on our behalf and see if some simple agreement could be.
And I can kind of go over what we've sort of identified so far. One of them being the museum would be responsible for storage and exhibition of the city collection. But in that case, we need to talk about insurance coverage. I know we pay insurance here, but if it's going to be over there, we're going to need to do some adjusting on that. Also, the collection, the plan is now for the collection to be rotated using a dedicated space. And Wendy and I walked the museum, and there's a potential of it being on the exterior wall and the standing wall to the left of the front entrance. And then we would have an additional introductory exhibit possibly this fall, which is what we were just talking about when Mark was here. And then the third thing under those would be the collection must be legally accessioned as either a gift or a loan. And I spoke with Wendy about that, And because I've been working over there trying to get a handle on things, and the way I've learned how to accession and decession now, or at least the accession part of it, so that I can help with it in the transition. And there was some question about whether they could do a loan, but I talked to Wendy today, and she said there's no problem with doing a loan. If we want to just give it as a loan, that's fine.
You mean the city collection?
The city collection.
Would be loaned to the
Individual,
museum,
but
sure.
she feels that it should be individually. Each piece should have a document, so we'll do it, we'll try to work it that way. My question kind of for everybody tonight is, who will be in charge going forward of a joint committee, and what parameters will be followed in terms of the governance of the city collection? And I'm thinking it'd be best to have a small committee made up of Wendy Barker as a museum director, and the chair of the acquisitions, whoever that happened to be, it's me right now. And then I thought the city should have a representative. I didn't know if Amber, that would be you, or somebody else. I didn't know if you felt you needed to be on that or not.
I don't know. Let's, maybe we should
Talk about it.
discuss that as a separate item when we get further forward, and when there's been some talk with the city attorney about what sort of legal arrangement needs to be made. An oversight committee could be a part of that legal arrangement, I would think.
And I do have the documents, and I'll forward them to you, Amber, for the loan. Okay, and then the fourth thing I was thinking in general is, what personnel and financial support can we coordinate to ensure a successful mission of the transition? And I thought the things personally that I was thinking about was that the city would carry on building the collection through our existing acquisitions committee
Right.
now. And that the city could take on, through us, furnishing PR and related labor, and continue to coordinate events and publicity in case-by-case basis as needed. And then the third thing was, I had a question about, should city continue to use City Gallery as an exhibition space or a satellite gallery for our collection at the museum? And I thought that's something we should all discuss about, how that's going to look in the future, because I know you talked about not rotating it as often, and so I just thought that would be something your committee should look at, City Gallery Committee. But that's basically,
Okay, so we're moving forward very strongly. I'm very pleased to hear all this.
and they really, it's going to be a really good union, I think, because after going through the collection as it stands now, there is not a lot of, there isn't any crossover for artists. They didn't have a lot of art-related work. Most of it's historical.
Right,
So this is just
So it
management
enriches
and
the
having-
museum. It's perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I'm excited.
great.
And
great.
everybody down there is very nice to work and very organized, so.
Comments or questions or discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to
Roger?
say that Linda has really whipped our collections into shape and has actually found a lot of things for us, and she's just been doing an incredible job there.
Thanks.
I'm not surprised, I have to say.
I just want it to happen.
Yeah,
It's
well,
so
I think we all do.
exciting.
It's
So
it's really
exciting.
terrific. It gives, I don't know, it just gives so much more visibility and power to the city collection instead of being in closets.
In
Yeah,
an attic.
yeah, in the attic. It's terrific.
Not right now, I don't think.
I don't know if they're up there
Okay,
anymore.
so we will obviously want to discuss this further at our next meeting, and a separate agenda item, the museum city collection transition.
Yeah, actually, too, we were talking about the show that we're going to have, which will basically take a lot of things off the walls, and we were thinking in the gallery committee that we'd probably want to repaint the walls at that time, because it's been probably 6 or 7 years since they've been painted, and so that would be like a perfect time to do that.
sure.
And you know, like once we take the artwork down, that we're going to find nail holes and
Yep.
patches and things like that. So that would make it look good until the show comes back, and then people would be delighted to have the work. So we need to talk about how to fund that particular aspect of
Right.
painting the walls.
Well, and
I
that.
apologize, it's just a moment of clarity. The walls at the City Gallery or the walls?
Yes,
Okay.
City Gallery.
City Gallery.
Yeah, those walls.
And that, again, is something that I think we could make the legitimate claim that that's a maintenance expense that the city should undertake. It should not come out of our budget.
I don't see why it would.
No, I wouldn't think so. Okay, anything else? This is very exciting. This is great to see this going forward. All right, we will move to the last discussion item, and that is the architecture book that we are trying to move forward with. And Commissioner Balderman, if you would tell us where we are.
I don't have much of a voice, but there's really not much new to report. We did come upon an interesting challenge. We discovered that there's a woman in Ojai who's been working for 3 years on a book on architecture in Ojai. No. But it turned out that she's working on one style of architecture. So after discussing this with her, she didn't feel it would be a conflict.
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause after all this work, it was, whoa. So if there's anybody else out there who's doing this, we need to know. Yeah, that's it, though.
And just a reminder, we have connected and are working with Carlos Grasso, one of the major artists in Ojai, I think one could say, as the graphic designer for this project. And Donna Granata, who was one of our Lifetime Achievement awardees and who's a noted professional photographer, has agreed to do the photography as needed. And because it's still very much in discussion, we're talking with several people who would be terrific writers for this project. So leave that sort of teaser in the air. Yes,
I have a
Linda.
question. There's not any way it's going to be ready for the show that Mark's talking about? The Jubilee.
The Jubilee, I think it's unlikely.
It's another event.
The other thing we're, of course, hanging fire on is our budget request, which was put in to the city council and which I addressed on Tuesday night. And I spoke of those things that we're asking additional money for the grant program, for the museum liaison project, and for the architecture book. So we're asking for a significant bump in our budget, but all of it is very project-based. It's not just, we've got vague plans or anything. It's stuff that's very solidly based. So knock wood and keep your fingers crossed, and we'll see what the city council does in terms of our budget request. And I think that will have a major impact on what we do as we go forward with these various projects. So we'll see. Okay, staff liaison report. Ms. Young.
So we had the music festival last weekend. It seems that it was very well received. It was interesting that they chose to have their closing concert actually in Santa Paula on Main Street. And so from what I understand, it was a joint venture between the city of Santa Paula and the music festival, partially funded by the city. So, but it seemed to be very well received, and working on the wrap up of the facility with them. And then we have Sterling Venue Ventures bringing their first concert of the season into the facility on Saturday. We have Noble Creatures opening up for Ozomali. So I think the community is pretty excited and ready for that. So, and then we have had last night, on Tuesday night, the city council approved the fee waiver for the Film Society to use the facility for 2 shows, one in July, and I believe the other one's in
August, I believe.
August, yes. So they will be going forward with that, and I've been in contact with Mr. Harris regarding getting up marketing materials and out to you as soon as I know what movies are coming and whatnot. And then additionally, we've recently had a bluegrass festival from the Santa Barbara Music Society or something along those lines. We'll be bringing a bluegrass festival to the facility on October 2nd.
Excellent.
So,
in addition to the Bowl Full of Blues?
Okay. So we are very excited to have some activity in there this summer. It's gonna be a fun one. The Lavender Festival is coming up the following weekend after, so the bowl will be out of commission that weekend, and then they'll come back, I think, the following weekend or shortly after.
What's the date for the Bluegrass Festival?
October 2nd.
The other thing that's happening with the Libby Bowl is that the committee, and I can't remember the full name of it. It's
The
a long,
Ojai Libby
awkward.
Bowl Arts and Festivals Committee.
Yes, which is an offshoot of the city council. It's chaired by Councilmember Haney. We have 7 members. I'm on the committee representing the Arts Commission. And that committee is trying to figure out how it is going to work out effective ways to evaluate what's going on in Libby Bowl this season, so that there can be a focused overview, and most importantly, trying to get a sense of how to balance programming so that it isn't just commercial events like those that Sterling has presented, but that it isn't just a children's choir from Miners Oaks, with all due respect to a children's choir from Miners Oaks. But in other words, getting that mix of community events and professional events, if you will. So that committee is now meeting twice a month, and our charge, amongst other things, is going to be amongst the members of the committee to go to virtually everything that happens in Libby Bowl this summer, so that we really can have an overview based on what the experience is this year. Yes, Linda?
Is there any more word about any Shakespeare or anything coming? No?
The Shakespeare, the Shakespeare workshop and festival is on schedule. They have dropped Hamlet off of their docket, so they will be doing The Merry Wives of Winter and A Midsummer Night's Dream. And I don't know what the performance dates are for those 2 shows. They do have the facility rented for a week, and I know that they're about to go into rehearsals.
Yeah. And I think
Not on the calendar. You don't have it on the calendar for the bowl.
No, because I don't have the dates.
Yeah.
I didn't want to put an entire week of Shakespeare and have it be confusing. So I'll work with Mr. Corbin on getting that.
Yeah, but I don't want to publicize it till she makes it official.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So that will be a locally generated, non-professional
And-
production involving children, and very much a community event.
And really, it's quite lovely that Mr. Corbin has partnered with the Recreation Department. So
That's appropriate.
that festival is actually being run through the Recreation Department.
Yeah, because it will involve a lot of children and other members of the community.
That's great.
It's good. Okay, any commissioner comments or anything to add? Yes?
Well, this is just a general question, because I don't even know anymore exactly who we're supposed to be asking. But twice now in the last month, I've tried to get onto the website, and one time I got on, but I couldn't get into anything. And then the last time, which wasn't that long ago, I couldn't get into it at all. It said it was under construction, or it was some weird thing like that. So whoever's, I don't know who it is, because Mark, it used to be Mark was the chair of that, right?
Heather, you usually do this.
No, is it Heather, is it you?
We'll check it out.
You did?
You did?
So I can speak to that. I
Oh,
can
okay.
speak to that a bit, because the Arts Commission website is now housed on the same server as the city website, and the city website is experiencing the same issues. We are experiencing issues with caching and having so much space taken up on the server, and so the system flips out a little bit. And our IT person is aware of the issue and rapidly working to find solutions so that we don't run into that anymore.
Good.
To know there's an identifiable problem. So what I'm looking for, and if there's another way to get this from anyone here, I'm looking for a list of public artists that are on the roster, because we want to attach it to the developer's handbook.
Sherry
So that
has
they
it.
have a hard printed copy.
Sherry has that. She has the hard
Sherry
copy at the front desk.
Cheryl?
has a copy of the
Sherry?
artist roster?
Yeah, she has
Oh,
all the
Sherry Herbuck
documents.
does?
She's the one that keeps it
Oh, great, okay.
up to date.
Fabulous.
Yeah, at the front
Okay.
desk.
Thank you.
Cool. Anything else? Well, yeah, now it is, yeah, okay. Well, for lack of anything better to say, I'll say we're adjourned.
All right.
It certainly is, but it's the end of the year. It's so funny to be ending the year.
Are we having a meeting in July and August, or are we going to?
Oh, July, we definitely must have a meeting, because we'll know what the budget is, and we'll be able to go forward. We'll talk about August at that time. I think last year we skipped August, didn't we?
We did.
I think so.
Well, this should go on an agenda next time. Did you see the new piece over there? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I have to go lower. Just look at the, hit it right before, above the.
Yeah, it's like it's part of the piece.
I need to ask you guys too.